It is our honor to invite in this press conference Her Excellency Commissioner Sako, Commissioner of Agriculture, Rural Economy, Rural and Blue Economy Department of the African Union Commission, to present a statement for esteemed colleagues of media. The floor is yours, Commissioner.
And this one, maybe Dr. Mayaki here.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, the master of the ceremony, the moderator of this brief to the press. Let me introduce to you His Excellency Ibrahim Mahaki, former Prime Minister of the Republic of Niger and our African Union Special Envoy on Food Safety. My sister, Dr. Esterine, she's the Director of Agriculture and Environment in Outer NEPAD. She's here. She's also one of the co mentor of this CADEP strategy and action plan 2026-2035. As you are aware, yesterday we just elected the new chair, the new commissioner in this position. So I'm the outgoing commissioner, but it's always a pleasure for me after having a tenure, 8 years tenure here in African Union, in this strategic department. It's good for me to communicate with the press. It's not that Africa is not doing anything. We are doing a lot, because I'm proud to have this opportunity to serve my continent. We are 1.5 billion people, and out of them, you know, I was chosen to come and look at this sector during 8 years, and I'm very, very happy to leave, to finish my tenure after 2 years. But there's a lot of challenges. It was a little bit difficult, you know, the shocks we had, the COVID pandemic. During 2 years, we did not really, you know, deliver, because we are all concentrating on this pandemic. We have also this Ukraine and the geopolitical crisis, Ukraine and Russia, so we had to take measures. So all these, you know, were very, very difficult moment up to now, because we have the inflation, economic inflation. People cannot even afford to buy these foods. So it is important to have you, to interact with the media and see the importance of this sector. My department is the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, as well as Sustainable Environment. And you know that climate change is one of the challenges this sector is facing in terms of feeding its own continent. So the topic we choose is the CADEP Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035. This is the new 10 years action plan. Since 2003, our head of state and government really puts agriculture as a priority. And then we had the Maputo Declaration. We concentrated more in food security and investing in agriculture, 10%. 10 years after, we saw that the continent still had a problem to implement, because what we want is to implement, you know, the decisions of our head of state. So we had a lot of gap in terms of implementing the Maputo Declaration. Then in 2014, we came out with the Kampala, Maputo, and then Malabo Declaration. Came out with Malabo Declaration. Our head of state made a bold strategy with 7 commitments. A lot of progress was made, but we're not on track, you know, on ending hunger by 2025. So that's why 10 years after the expiring of our Malabo Declaration, which is this year, last year, we started with my team we started shaping the new Kampala Declaration, which our head of state and government just endorsed it now in January 9 and 11 in Kampala. So we came out with a bolder concept, the strategy 2026-2035, with more inclusive. It was very inclusive, very equitable, and we had a lot of consultation at the regional level. So when we're shaping or drafting this our strategy, we really wanted it to be African-led strategy. We worked with my team, director is there, the head of division is there. We work with the 5 regional recs, because this is our agenda, this is our priority, this is our policy. So let Africa say what we want, not people to say what they want for us. As an Pan-Africanism, and I'm proud to say I am a Pan-Africanist because I like my continent. I'm really a Pan-Africanist, so we made sure that this new strategy was really made by us. We included everybody. It was very consultative. People really help us, but we know that ending anger, we cannot end alone. We also have, like Agenda 2063 tells us, we have to also build partnership. So with our partners, with their experience, so we are able to work together. But they are the partners that were working with us. They know that this is an agenda that Africa wants to make, and they should come and help us. That's why we came out with this important tool. And during the Kampala Declaration, Kampala's Extraordinary Summit, we came out with 2 main instruments or tools. We came out with the CADEP Strategy 2026-2035 and Action Plan, and we also came out with the Kampala Declaration, whereby at the policy level, our head of state committed themselves to see if we can really attain all the six strategic objectives that comes in our strategy. The first strategic pillar, it is intensifying sustainable food production, because we need to produce. By 2050, the Africa population will be 2.5 billion. What are we going to do to feed these people? By 2030 is almost 20 years to come, but the population is growing and growing. So that's why we have to intensify the sustainable food production. Under this, we have all the indicators, how to reach to achieve it. We have it in our own action plan. What are we going to do in order to intensify sustainable food production? And we also say, okay, processing is another area that we need to concentrate. And this, by industrialization, we are giving job opportunity to our youth. We are transforming our own food. We are opening markets, because today we have the IFCFTA. How are we going to market? We have to process our food, we have to industrialize, and we associated it with trade. This is our strategic pillar number 1, or objective. The second objective is boosting investment and financing for accelerated agri-food system transformation. Here we are still keeping the values of Maputo Declaration, the 10%. We need to really mobilize investment in this area so that we can transform the agri-food system transformation. The 2 editions of the 2 decades, which is Malabo and Maputo, we did not focus more on the approach of agri-food system. We just stay in agriculture. But now we want a sustainable, resilient agri-food system. That is the new strategy. That's where we are going to concentrate and look at the value chain, because we cannot just say we are producing food. Which market? So we want an approach that the farmer has access to market. There is a demand, and the demand for food, we all know, is there. There's a market, because all of us, we go to supermarket, we go to the market to go and buy food. So it is really an area that we have to make it a business. We have to make it a business, not just a charity or humanitarian issues. Okay. The third pillar is ensuring food and nutrition security for all. Producing food is okay. What is the content of the value of that food in terms of nutrition? That's why Malabo did not focus on nutrition. But we have to make sure that the food we are producing is nutritious food, that our population are not sick, that we make sure that they have, the 3 square meal that is really good for their own health. So we're looking at it, because when you talk of nutrition, nutrition is a matter of agriculture, because it's the food we eat. So we can prevent diseases, when we produce good food for our population. The fourth one is advancing inclusive and equitable livelihoods. You know that 70% of our population are rural. They are poor farmers, and most of the labor there, it is women. So we need to include women on this conversation. So that's why we say inclusive. And we say inclusive and equitable. Women, because women parity. Women do a lot. They play a very important role, on the farm. But they are not really, empowered. That's why we put women, and we also put the youth to attract youth. And also, well, when we were trying to shape this one, we were talking about marginalized people, but during Kampala declaration, they say it's not marginalized, but vulnerable people. But handicapped people, vulnerable people, we should include them in this conversation to navigate with us. And the fifth one is building resilient agri-food system. That's where we look at the nexus between environment and agriculture. What impact climate change does? We are rain-fed. Our model of production is rain-fed. Now with the drought, what type of resilient program that we can put, to support, to start continue producing even when there is drought? Yesterday we had, I commend the Ethiopian government to organize the conference, the first conference on irrigation and food resilience, to produce a resilient food production. So that is why, even if we have drought, we have to make sure that farmers have access to irrigation. How do we do irrigation? Today, with technology, innovation, and science, we can achieve that. It's just a matter of the policy that we are putting in place that we need to go through it. And the last one is strengthening the governance of agri-food system. That is accountability. It is in the Malabo Declaration is commitment number 7, accountability. Every year, every 2 years, this department produces the biannual review report. And this biannual review report and the scorecard is very important for us, because there is no need of bringing such a strategy without us looking at what is the achievement, or take stock of what is being done. So during my tenure, I'm happy to really say that the first biannual review report was launched by me under my design with my team it's here. So it's very important, accountability. We need to account on what we do. That is why where we have the gap, you improve. If you don't account, if you don't go to member state, we are 55 member state. If you don't go to the 55 member state, how will you know that we are making progress? So all this is the CADEP Malabo Declaration. The paper is there. In the interest of time, I don't know if Dr. Mayaki and my sister would like also to give some insight on this conference before we can open to you. I also have what I did for my 8 years, my book, my achievement, and I'm really happy for all of you, the press, that you're carrying me along, and to have served my continent. I'm very, very happy. Where I will be, I will always look at my continent first. Like Trump said, America first. I say Africa first. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now the floor for Dr. Mayake. You are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you, and to focus on the considerable achievements that you have made during your tenure. And I use the qualification of considerable because it is considerable. I mean, you moved the continent from the implementation of Malabo to the design of the Kampala strategy. So you covered 20 years of Africa's agricultural transformation. And you did it, and I'm a witness to that, having worked a little bit more than 6 years with you. You did it with tenacity, you did it with extreme motivation, with high competence, and with a sense of partnerships. And all these factors contributed to these achievements, which I call considerable. And now Africa has a substantial strategy, which is not only for agri-food systems transformation, but is also for industrialization. We tend to forget that the industrialization of this continent will come from agri-food systems transformation. And all what has to do with manufacturing, all what has to do with artificial intelligence, machine learning, digitalization, when it is inserted in agri-food systems transformation, will lead to industrialization. So you not only had an impact on agricultural transformation, you had an impact on blue economy, you had an impact on sustainable environment, and my sister, Director Estirin, will certainly refer to that. And these impacts, if you link them all, they reflect the achievements of the AU Commission as a whole, because this department is the biggest department of the African Union Commission. So the impact of this department has a consequence on every department's impact. It is the backbone of the African Union Commission strategy in CFTA, in health, etc. So really, I want to be short but incisive and clear. Warm congratulations for what you did with a fantastic team, and working as a team, delivering as a team, and having always, and I make a special mention of that spirit of Pan-Africanism, because the role of a commissioner, beyond being technical, is to also have a political dimension. And the content of a political dimension is exactly Pan-Africanism. So you leave a huge legacy, and our hope is that this legacy can be promoted, increased, enhanced, and still be implemented. And we will absolutely remember you as the commissioner who took us from Malabo to Kampala and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Estrin, you are most welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It really is a huge honor and privilege for me to sit on this table with my, I call them my sister, but also my boss, so with my two bosses, Her Excellency Commissioner Joseph Asako, and His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Asane Mayaki, whom, as you know, was the CEO of AUDM NEPAD. Really, I want to say huge congratulations to my dear sister, Commissioner Sako. I've worked with her for 8 years, and 8 years that has been very productive. 8 years I'm working with someone who is your boss, but brings herself to the level where you are very comfortable working with her. So it wasn't a boss relationship, but a relationship of sisterhood, supporting each other, because it can be challenging in this position, being a commissioner or the privilege of being a director in this in the AU system, in a mandate in covering a subject matter that is of immense importance to the continent. As Dr. Mayaki just said, she did not only cover agriculture and food security, but also environment, including, of course, climate change and the blue economy. So these are topical issues of critical relevance to the development of the continent. And I think she did it stellarly. I will have to say, we talked today of African common positions in negotiations, which has really put visibility and bring visibility of the African continent and ensure that the African continent has hugely influenced the outcomes of global negotiations. Now, the common African positions were her ideas. You know, working with Dr. Mayaki, that was where we start developing African common position on critical negotiations. These things are not known, but if we are talking about her legacy, this has to be one of them. Today, we don't go to any negotiations, whether it's in agriculture, food system, or climate, without an African common position. And that has made African voice in the global arena very strong. So I really want us, to give her that credibility, that recognition as part of her legacy. She mentioned the new tenets of Kampala Declaration and Action Plan. The one on inclusivity, I think, is one I really just want to highlight. Recognizing the importance of women and youth in agri-food system transformation in the continent. It's something that has been her passion, that she has supported. We have had the Women in Agribusiness Forum, which she has championed. I also would like really to take this opportunity to thank her for ensuring that we projected and gave such highlights on critical subject as this, because Africa is not going to transform if 51% of its population is not given the attention that is needed, and particularly in the field of agriculture and food systems, where we know 60 to 70% of the food that we eat in our households are produced by women, smallholder farmers. So it was of critical importance to give, that prominence to this segment of our society. And just lastly, as Dr. Mayaki said, she took, from Kampala, from Maputo to Malabo, and now Kampala. I really have to say that she's giving us the next 10 years of agri-food system transformation in the continent. So whatever we are going to be doing the next 10 years has been shaped by Commissioner Sako and her team, including myself, from the side of African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, with, of course, the critical enable support from Dr. Mayaki as the food system envoy for the continent. So she leaves a huge legacy, but I also think she has a major influence on the future, because Kampala Declaration, Strategy and Action Plan is the future for the continent the next 10 years to give us the Africa that we want. So thank you so much, Commissioner, my dear sister, for the privilege of having worked with you and for really being someone that I've looked up to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now the floor is open for dear colleagues in the media. The Commissioner took us through the Kampala Declaration and 6 pillars of the Declaration. and she spoke a lot. So please introduce yourself if you have any questions as an institution, media institution you are working for, and please, questions are. The floor is yours, please.
Madame le commissaire, nous vous remercions pour votre propos. Il a été clair et explicite. Nous saluons vos efforts à la tête de la commission. Et nous avons cependant un sujet qui nous inquiète. À quel niveau avez-vous laissé le secteur agricole africain et à quel moment pensez-vous que finalement l'Afrique aura atteint son autosuffisance alimentaire? Vous êtes renseigné sur les multiples projets. Qu'est-ce qui sera? Dans combien de temps nous sortirons des sacs de riz de la Thaïlande, du blé ukrainien qui semble-t-il alimente tout le continent, de tout ce qui nous a été raconté ces derniers temps? À quel moment pensez-vous que tout cela va s'arrêter et que l'Afrique va prendre son destin en main? Merci.
Je ne sais pas si je vous réponds en français ou en anglais. Il y a la traduction. Je suis plus à l'aise en anglais. Vous comprenez l'anglais?
Oui, je comprends, mais je vais un effort à faire pour traduire.
Ok. Non, je peux parler en anglais. Est-ce qu'il y a une traduction?
Yes, there is a traduction.
Ok. Donc, merci pour la question qui était très pertinente. C'est vrai que je laisse l'Union africaine avec sentiment de mission accomplie. Parce que ici à l'Union africaine, nous ne sommes pas une agence d'exécution de projets, mais nous sommes une agence qui formule, qui élabore le programme, les politiques communes, comme a dit ma sœur Estherine. Donc nous, c'est la politique. Parce que si on ne s'organise pas, on n'aura pas atteint nos objectifs. Il faut une vision. Et la vision est faite ici. Donc, je suis contente que je laisse un instrument qui est la stratégie de CADEP, de CADEP, qui est très connu en anglais, de CADEP, le PPA. Donc, c'est cette stratégie-là, c'est une stratégie de 10 années. Elle a des indicateurs. Elle a comment les 6 piliers peuvent être mis en œuvre. Et quand tu mets en œuvre ces 6 piliers, parce qu'aujourd'hui, avec mon départ, ce n'est pas inventer un programme. Comme on dit en anglais, we are not here to invent the wheel. The wheel is there. Whether they like it or not, the new elected commissioner is supposed to follow, to implement what our head of state. I did not invent it. It is demand-driven. It is our continent, our cadre, our scientists that shaped that document. So what I'm happy is that for us to mobilize, today there is a new order. You saw what Trump is doing, people that depend on UN, USID, that was really very supportive in this department. But today, we don't have it. So it is time, momentum, that people should take, Africa should take the destinies in their hand. They should not come and sell this instrument, which is the Kampala Declaration. They should implement it. If they implement wherever I will be, I'll be very happy. At least the way we shaped it for 1 year, we know that if we align, the first thing is to look at how can we domesticate that policy to our national development program. So to me, I believe that there is a commitment, and the 2 recent shocks that we had, because you asked me why are we importing, this document focus more on the inter-African trade. Countries that have a surplus can feed countries that have deficiency by doing this inter-African trade. So then if our member states keep on that 10% on the agriculture budget, we will go ahead. We are not beggars. Africa has a lot, is endowed with a lot of resources. It's just a matter of seeing where are our priority and have a political commitment. So I believe that the 10 years time, the target what we gave ourselves, we will improve. Because when we are saying the 10 years of Malabo, we are not saying that we did not improve. If you read the latest biannual review report, there was a lot of progress. About 18 countries, they made the progress. Maybe the benchmark was too high, you know, on the 4th edition, that countries did not get that benchmark. That's why we're saying nobody is on track. They're on track. At least they are producing. So we believe that it is an exercise that we have to do it together. Nous devons être ensemble, hein, pour bâtir cette belle Afrique. I'm so happy that I serve this continent, and I wish really good road for my successor. Because when I came, African Union does not belong to my father. It's not the farm of my father. It's for all of us. We come, we serve, we go. So I'm proud. And I'm proud I have my colleagues here that I'm launching my book today in front of the media. Because this is what I did. This is the legacy I'm leaving. So I'm proud to say that I'm leaving, and I wish good roads, better endeavor to the person, my successor that was elected yesterday from Eswatini. I'm very happy. I'm proud that my department will produce the next commissioner. Thank you.
Sorry, because I think let us take a round of questions and we come back again. Sorry? Yeah, yes.
Good morning, Madam. Thank you for your service. My name is Rutendo Matinyarare from LN24. And my question and issue remains that under your tenure, we have seen the proliferation of genetically modified foods on the continent. And the proliferation of genetically modified foods causes dependency in Africa. It brings us terminating genes. It brings us risks that we are not aware of because of these GMOs. And whenever we've had to go to court to fight against those that are proliferating these GMOs in Africa, when we had to fight them in countries that don't allow these GMOs, we had no legal framework, we had no framework from the AU to guide us in this process. And we heard the learned gentleman saying that agriculture is going to bring industrialization to Africa. How do we bring industrialization to Africa when Africa is dependent on the seeds of America's Monsanto that are going to terminate and that come with other problems, the utilization of chemicals like glyphosate that is being banned in America, and here in Africa we are adopting the very same use of a chemical that is being banned in the country that it is manufactured. And not only that, there has been penalties of over $11 billion to the company that is proliferating this chemical. Why has your panel or your committee not done something to cancel that? Finally, before you go, I just wanted to say that the narrative that Africa imports more than other countries or other continents, it's not true. Africa imports $80 billion worth of food. Europe imports $160 billion worth of food. China imports $140 billion worth of food. They import way more than Africa. So what it means is we've got agricultural systems in Africa that work, but if your department does not make it a point to have a communication strategy to let the world know that we are not food insufficient, we might have a problem tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your brilliant question. And I think going to GMO, genetic modified organism, I completely agree with you. That is why countries are sovereign, the sovereignty of countries. I fought any type of initiative or strategy under my mandate on this debate. We are divided. We are not talking in one how do you call it? One voice. Some people, they support it. because Bill and Melinda Gates has a lot of money to give them. Some people don't. My country, we are not in GMO. And many countries, we are not on that. So it is really a matter of sovereignty. I'm leaving my head like this because I did not betray my continent. I did not support this GMO. I did not, because I want to have scientific basis. Here in this press conference, previously, my sister is there, she's a journalist. She asked that question, and I told my colleagues from Safgrad, open a committee, give this information to member states to know what are the impact of this GMO. Africa, didn't have the rate of cancer that we had. When I was a child, we knew that cancer was for a rich man, not poor man. But today, almost everybody has cancer. What are the origin of cancer? It's what we eat, what we take as a vaccine, even this COVID vaccine. It gave a lot of consequences, You cannot produce a vaccine just one day and start, injecting it. So I'm really, maybe now that I've retired, I will be I will be an activist against the GMO. You can count on me.
We are with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm also from LN24 International from Nigeria, and I'm very happy with your response on GMO because that's it's a burning topic in Nigeria. But I will speak on two. I will ask on two other areas. The first is our seed policy in Africa. First of all, Africa is a continent blessed with a lot of arable land, and of course, the proliferation of GMOs, it leads to the depletion of natural seeds. So what, during your tenure, I just want to ask, what policies you drive to promote regenerative seeds? And I'm also happy to congratulate you that during your tenure, Tanzania became food sufficient, and they have an active ban on GMOs. And right now, they're supplying other African countries. And just recently, a report came that Tanzania, they are the second largest producers of maize in Africa. And so if those policies worked, in Tanzania, what has your office done in spreading this message around other parts of Africa? Then my second inquiry here is on the AIDS. Like we recently talked about the Trump truncating the USAID aids to Africa. And I'm here to report that in Africa, especially the northern part of Africa, we have a lot of, northern part of Nigeria, we have a lot of reports that USAID-sponsored pesticide program has led to our ginger farms being eradicated because the pesticides have weakened the ginger. They are now susceptible to fungal attacks. And now, just before I came in here, I got a report on my phone that over 10 billion was lost from ginger farmers in Nigeria. So what is our policy in, investigating these so-called grants and aids that come as farm inputs that cause more damage than good? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I have the Director of Agriculture to answer it because he's the one that deals with the technical aspect. Director, over to you about the seed policy that we have on the continent and also the impact of the Trump's aid cuts on the continent. Over to you, Director.
Thank you, Excellence, and good morning. My name is Godfrey Bahigwa. I'm the Director of Agriculture and Rural Development. Regarding the application of GMOs, the African Union has no common position on this subject because our 55 member states are sovereign states. They decide on their own which approach they would like to take on GMOs. So we have no common position as African Union. It is the member states to decide which approach to take. Having said that, and as Her Excellency the Commissioner has said, the continent is divided. Some people are for GMOs, some people are not for GMOs. But what is clear What is clear is for us to be able to feed ourselves, we must raise agricultural productivity. That is unit output per unit of land. How you do that can vary from one country to the other. You can actually raise ag productivity through conventional breeding methods. And you produce hybrid seeds, you raise ag productivity. You come from a country where maize breeding has produced seeds that are sold across the continent. Zimbabwe and Zambia on this continent are among the best breeders of maize seeds. So if we can be able to raise ag productivity, increase the quantity of food that is produced using conventional breeding, then we can stave off the discussion around GMOs. The challenge that you face, and we must face as a continent, that if you are not succeeding in your research institutions and in your academic institutions produce productivity enhancing technologies, then you make yourselves vulnerable to the entry of technologies developed outside of the continent to come and infiltrate our ag system. So the challenge is back to us as Africans. How do we increase investments in ag research and development to develop the technologies that we need for crops, for animals, for fisheries, be able to raise productivity, produce food, and feed ourselves? The challenge is ourselves, not to blame others that have invested in research and development of technologies. The same thing with the herbicides and pesticides. The international companies that are developing these technologies, they are there to make money. And if they can find a market on the continent, sell the product, why not? Why not? Again, the challenge is back to us. We see the crop diseases on this continent. We see the animal diseases on this continent. They are limiting the quantity of food we can produce. Let's again invest in research that produces chemicals and pesticides that are safe to use, produce food, and feed Africans in a healthy manner. I don't want to beat around the bush. The challenge is to the African heads of state, prime ministers, researchers, and academics. Let us increase investments in agriculture, research, and development, produce the safe technologies that we need to produce safe food for our population. I thank you, Excellency.
Marina Falcão, RFI, and I'm going to speak in Portuguese. Queria perguntar-lhe, o seu mandato termina agora como comissária, mas começa no fim de semana o mandato de Angola à frente da presidência da União Africana. Quais é que foram as recomendações que deixou ao seu país, nomeadamente a nível da agricultura, mas também do ambiente? Obrigada.
Não temos tradução em português. Vou responder em francês ou em inglês. Inglês está melhor?
English is fine.
Tá bem, muito obrigada. As a Commissioner for Agriculture, outgoing Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment, what advice am I leaving to my country that is going to take over of the African Union, not Commission, the African Union? My president, His Excellency João Lourenço, is going to be the next president from Saturday. I think is on the 15th. He's taking over. My country, we used to be, during the colonial, you are from Portugal, you know, during the colonial, Angola was one of the best agricultural country in Africa. We used to be the first coffee producers, cotton. We are really doing very well in our economy. Our economy was based in agriculture because we are endowed with good land, water, or everything, you know, agriculture needs the ecosystem. Angola has it. And my president puts agriculture as his priority. So that is why he was the one representing the current chair of the union in Kampala, and he made it very clearly that we make sure during his tenure that the strategy left by an Angolan woman who is from his country has to be respected. This strategy, the Kampala Declaration, and the strategy and action plan 2026 and 2035. So it's going really to make a lot of advocacy to inspire to start investing in this important this important sector. So I know that Angola will continue to really defend all the principles and values that Joseph Asako is living. I am one of the kid of my country. We are going to be 50 years of independence. And then it's very important that people that, that were formed after the independence, after the Portuguese had left Angola, I belong to one of these clusters of the first, and very respectful by my country, because my country gives me the full support. So that is why I'm saying that the agriculture sector is okay. I'm also part of the think tank of people that will be giving advice during his presidency here in African Union. So I think that we are going to kick off very well the implementation of our CADEP strategy, as well as our Kampala Declaration. I'm very, very proud that we had the opportunity for the first time that my country is going to take the leadership, and I trust my president, because we need peace. The geopolitics, all this war in Somalia, Sudan, the Congo crisis with Rwanda, it has to finish, because my president is a champion on this thematic. And we believe that Angola is a country that had 27 years of civil war, and we are able to make it. Today, with our brothers from UNITA, we are one. So Africa should be one and united, so that we can implement our Agenda 2063. Thank you.
Last question. Last question, please. Yeah.
Well, ma'am, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much. And I was so happy that you recognized me. And I want to start off by just congratulating you on your tenure. I remember we had an interview on my show, and we took this conversation further. So thank you for the great work. Now, I wanted to find out, do we have data? So I guess this is an open question, maybe to even you. Do we have data on seed banks? Seed banks on our own organic seed. So while we might have been taken over of our countries by GMOs, did we ever have the opportunity to create our own seed banks, our own original organic seeds? And if so, is there a way that we can champion that to then try and eliminate the GMOs? Because it really seems the GMO war is a very big war. So I've always wondered if African countries ever thought of creating their own seed banks.
Thank you, my dear sister. I think this is a technical question. My director will answer, but it's a very good approach. We need to have the bank data for our own local seeds, because we have an initiative that we're having in terms of really improve our local commodities, give them value, nutritional value. So I think director can answer it better at this respect. Director Baigwe.
Yeah, thank you, Excellency, and thank you for the question. Yes, I don't have the statistics on number of seed banks across different countries, but that information is there. So after the press briefing, I can contact our officer who would have this information. But what is clear is, one, as the continent, again, through what the commissioner said, and also my sister Esterine, in 2021, we developed an Africa Common Position on agri-food systems. And one of the pathways for food systems transformation was the call to increase the production and consumption of traditional and indigenous African foods. It is that specific, very specific in the common position. And so it was a call to member states to recognize that within our countries, diverse as the continent is, there are those crops that are nutritious, climate resistant, that we need to be able to promote. That's one. Number two, as a continent, we have a program called the Africa Seed and Biotechnology Program that is meant to promote both the production and utilization of traditional seeds, as well as improved seeds that are through conventional breeding methods, not the GMOs. But regarding to the specific number of seed banks, I don't have that information handy, but I can obtain it for you by contacting the colleague that is leading this program. Thank you.
Now, Director Esterin, you are welcome. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll just add to what my brother, Director Baiwa, just said. So, under the work that we do in the environment, particularly to support member states to implement the Biodiversity Convention, one of the key things that member states have to do under the National Biodiversity Strategy is to establish the seed banks in the context of the program of work on agrobiodiversity. We have done some preliminary work, and in collaboration with the colleague at the Commission, to look at the state of seed banks and herbariums in the continent. Preliminary work is the last 5 to 10 years, the state of the seed banks have been not enough funding have gone to the seed banks. And a considerable effort is being made now to ensure that at country level, these seed banks are revived and given the kinds of capacity and funding that is necessary to keep them, let's say, play the role that you've all been saying since morning. So we need these seed banks to house our own indigenous seeds so that the conversation on our GMOs can be addressed in a manner that respond to the wish of member states. So yes, the seed banks are really important. Observation right now is under the biodiversity strategies. Member states have an obligation to create them, and we will be working as AUD and NEPAD and the Commission to support our member states to have them. Yeah.
Very short, because still we have another activity. Dr. Mike is going to.
So thank you once again for another opportunity. I just wanted to ask the director a question. When he talked about the solutions that we need to come up with, he came to the seeds and said that in the seeds aspect, we need to focus on the local and indigenous solution. I liked that. Now, I want to go to the animals, doctor. We understand that Chad has one of the most successful cattle herds on the African continent. And we read with the US Treasury actually advising its farmers, its companies, to bring vaccines and chemicals after admitting that Chad has been very successful in producing one of the biggest and most healthiest herds in the world. What is your take? Do we need chemical solutions? Do we need to continue to have vaccines? Or is there actually a secret and actually a success plan that has made Chad successful without the medicines and without the vaccines that the Americans now want to bring into that?
Maybe you have more information than me on this subject, but the African Union has a specialized technical office called the Pan-African Veterinary Vaccine Center, ANVAC. It's actually based here in Ethiopia, 40 kilometers southeast of Addis Ababa in the Brezeit. No vaccine comes on this continent and is applied to African animals without going through PANVAC. PANVAC tests and certifies all vaccines that come into the continent and make sure that they are safe for utilization, for vaccinating our animals. Secondly, that center also provides training in vaccine production. So again, it goes back to the same issue that I raised around GMOs and herbicides and pesticides. They need to invest on this continent in the production of the vaccines that are adaptable to our animals. This is something that is quite serious, because if multinational companies are able to make money by selling vaccines on this continent, by selling herbicides on this continent, why can't African businessmen invest on this continent in the production of those seeds, of those vaccines, and sell to the same population where the multinationals are selling? It's a business case that can be made. So we cannot run away from the responsibility of African business people, agribusiness entrepreneurs, to produce seed, vaccines, herbicides, and pesticides to sell on this continent. We cannot run away from it. It is a reality. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think before we conclude, we come to Dr. Mayake, and this is the end of this press conference.
Mine is very quick, statistics. When you have a 1 trillion GDP economy, you don't import the same as a 15 trillion GDP economy. So the comparison between Africa and Europe is a bit shaky. 2, agricultural value added has increased significantly in the last 10 years. 3, intra-Africa trade of agricultural product has been multiplied by 3 in the last 12 years. So there is a good narrative too. You see, there is a good narrative. So I'm just throwing the stats for you to know. Huh? And now it's my extreme pleasure between my powerful sister, Commissioner Sako, my dear sister and powerful also Director Esterine, to launch this report.
This is Portuguese. Do you speak Portuguese?
Which, if you speak Portuguese, you can have it. It's in English, in Portuguese. It will be also in French. And it is a synthesis of all the achievements.
Can you sponsor me?
So can we just take a picture, congratulate Commissioner very warmly. I'm sure it will fly very high, and we are all happy to be part of this exceptional moment.
Look at the cameras and just
Okay, let's look at the cameras. Okay, get closer.
we can handshake each other.
Okay, a luta continua.
A
Okay.
vitória é certa. Okay.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.